All right, so there's been a lot of polling the past couple of days. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. And when I talk about there being a lot of polling, I'm not just talking about state level polls. I also mean in terms of the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination in a general sense. And that's what I want to take a look at right now. So if we click on this, here we have the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination polls. So this is Real Clear Politics. It's a great place to see all the polling and to see the trends of the polls. And if you take a look at the average of polls, which is what this top line is, you'll see that nationally, Bernie Sanders is up to 27.8%, and he's up to a 10-point lead on the second place Joe Biden. And you'll also notice that Bloomberg is at 16.1% and is now in third place. Warren is in fourth with 12.3%. Buttigieg, despite his strong showing in Iowa and New Hampshire, is only at 10.3%. And Klobuchar, despite her strong showing in New Hampshire, is at 6.4%. And then you got Steyer 2.4%, and then Gabbard at 1.4%. So now these are the recent polls right here. And one thing I like to do is to see how the polls have been changing from the previous poll into the new one to get a better sense of the trend lines. So if we see the ABC News Washington Post poll, ABC News / Washington Post. All right, so this is the newest one, and this is the one that was previous. Now, if we take a look, the last poll had Bernie Sanders at 22% for ABC News Washington Post. Now he's up to 32%. So that's a 10-point increase. As for Joe Biden, look at this. He was at 34%, but in the newest poll, he's down to 16%. That's an 18-point drop. That is not good if you're a Joe Biden supporter. In terms of Bloomberg, he was at 7%. Now he's at 14%. In terms of Elizabeth Warren, she was at 14. Now she's at 12. Buttigieg was at 4. He's now at 8. So that is a bump for him. And then Klobuchar was at 4, but now she's up to 7. Steyer's up 1. Gabbard's up 1. So that's ABC News. But how about Emerson, right? So if we take a look at Emerson, all right, here are the two Emerson polls. Last time in Emerson, Bernie Sanders was at 27. He's up to 29, so that's a 2-point bump. Biden was at 30, but now he's down to 22, so that's an 8-point drop. So again, that's a big drop for Biden. Bloomberg was at 7. He's up to 14, so another bump for Bloomberg. Warren was at 13. Now she's at 12, so it's relatively the same, down 1. Buttigieg was at 6. Now he's up to 8. Klobuchar was at 4. Now she's up to 6. And then Steyer went from 1 to now 3. And then Gabbard went from 1 to now 4. So that's that poll. And then economist YouGov. Let's see. All right, here we go. The last one had Bernie Sanders at 22. He's up to 24. So that's a +2. Biden stayed the same at 18. Bloomberg stayed the same. Warren went up 1. Buttigieg went up 1. And then Klobuchar stayed the same. But if you notice, because this is a more recent, like the date separating this poll for Economics YouGov compared to this one, it's a small amount of time. But if you go back in time, here to January 19th through January the 21st, you see that Bernie was at 18%, and now he's up to 24. So that's a +6. Biden was at 28, but now he's only at 18. And then Bloomberg was at 6, and then now he's at 12. Warren was at 21. Now she's at 16. And then Buttigieg was at 8. Now he's at 11. Klobuchar was at 4. Now she's at 7. So that's more in line with what we're seeing with some of these other polls. Then NBC News, if we check this out, NBC News Wall Street Journal. So before Bernie was at 27, he's still at 27. Biden, oh, here's the big change. Biden was at 26, but now he's at 15. That's an 11-point drop. Bloomberg was at 9. Now he's at 14. So that's a 5-point increase. So far what we're seeing is that Bloomberg's definitely rising. Buttigieg and Klobuchar, to a certain extent, they're rising, although not as much as Bloomberg. And then Bernie in some of these polls has been rising as well. But his lead is growing because Biden is just dropping. NPR, let's see. Is there another NPR one? I'm not sure. No, that's the only NPR one. Same thing with Morning Consult, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, those are Politico, Morning Consult. I think those are different. All right, how about the Hill Harris? Okay, actually, right here. So now again, the time frame between these two is pretty close. So if we go further back to this one, Bernie was at 17%. Now he's at 22, so that's a +5. Biden was at 29. He's now down to 19. Bloomberg was at 11. He's up to 18. Warren was at 9. So she actually goes up here to 12. Buttigieg was at 5. He's up to 10. Klobuchar was at 2. She's up to 5. So it's pretty consistent. Bernie, he's going up. Bloomberg's going up a lot. Warren, I mean, overall her numbers keep going down, but we just did see a poll that had her going up, but 12.3%. She was way higher than this earlier in the campaign, so this is not good for her. Buttigieg is rising, but not to the level he would probably would have hoped for after Iowa and New Hampshire. His strong showings there. Same thing with Klobuchar. She would want to be higher than this for higher than 6.4% after her showing in New Hampshire. Actually, look at this. So the betting odds say that Bernie Sanders is the best bet, which is pretty obvious at this point based on the polling, at 44%. But Bloomberg's at 33.2% in the betting odds. Then Biden at 10.9, Buttigieg at 10.5, and Clinton at 5.5. Which Clinton? Hillary? I guess. What in the world? Obama. Michelle? I don't know what's going on here. But so yeah, but anyway, overall the sense is Bernie is in very good shape. He has a 10-point lead in the polls, the average of polls nationally. And if you didn't know, he's leading in Nevada in the polls by a pretty big margin at this point. So if he wins there, the momentum, this lead could grow even more. So, but Bloomberg is definitely something, he's someone to watch out for, especially with how much money he has. It's insane. Yeah, this is interesting to see, and let's see what happens.